Hello and welcome to Beyond Business, the program where we look at how countries and companies compete in the global economy. Today we're looking at a fierce battle in the Caribbean. I'm not talking about pirates, nor am I talking about Hollywood blockbusters. This is about a bitter legal fight between drinks makers Bacardi and Pernod Ricard of France. Both of them are using the name Havana Club on their rum bottles, and that sparked a trademark war without precedent.
Havana, a sunny corner of the world with its peculiar architecture, nostalgia for old American beauties, and of course, its legendary rum. But in the world of Cuban rum, two firms, the one from France, Pernod Ricard, and the other from Bermuda, Bacardi, have been waging an economic war over the rights to the bankable trademark Havana Club. The trademark originally belonged to a Cuban family that fled to the US in the 1960s. In 1993, Pernod Ricard founded a joint venture with a Cuban associate and began to sell bottles of Havana Club.
We took all the necessary precautions before starting the French-Cuban joint venture Havana Club International. We checked that the brand had not been registered in 80 countries, including the United States, over a period of more than 30 years. We also checked that no one had claimed the ownership of this brand.
In 1996, the US renewed the trademark rights for Pernod. Meanwhile, the French company carried on the production of rum at its San Jose factory near Havana. But then, Pernod found out its competitor Bacardi had also begun to sell rum under the same brand.
In 1996, we began to see Havana Club rum sold by Bacardi. It came as a big surprise to us, especially because no one had claimed the ownership of this brand before us.
Bacardi used its powerful connection in Congress to prevent Pernod from owning the Havana Club brand in the States. In 1998, Congress passed a law known as Section 211, which makes trademarks confiscated by the Cuban government and unenforceable in the US.
This section is unique. We owned this brand for more than 20 years, and all of a sudden the law changed in the US. It only applies to us, and we've asked for authorization to remain the owner of the Havana Club brand in the US.
Reached by France 24, Bacardi refused to comment on the matter. In 2002, the World Trade Organization demanded that Section 211 be changed, arguing it violates international treaties. Pernod took the case to the court in the US, without any result so far. After several trials, in March 2011, the Court of Appeals in Washington ruled in favor of Bacardi. But among the three judges on the case, one of them condemned Section 211. Now, Pernod intends to take the case to the US Supreme Court.
Section 211 was condemned by the World Trade Organization because it violates international treaties on intellectual property. For the last 10 years, nearly every month, the WTO has been asking the US to conform to its 2002 decision, without any positive answer for now.
The battle between Bacardi and Pernod is not over yet. Considering the millions of dollars at stake, the French firm wants to take the case to the US Supreme Court.
Just to reiterate, we have tried to get comment from Bacardi, but they have not got back to us. Joining me now, though, for more here in the studio is Manuela Ball. He's an intellectual property attorney. Welcome to France 24.
Thank you very much.
Now, this is a very complicated case in many aspects, but basically, Bacardi is saying that Pernod Ricard and its Cuban partner cannot use the Havana Club name in the United States because of Section 211. Could you talk us through exactly what this piece of American legislation says?
Yeah, well, actually, it's not about the use of the trademark Havana Club. It's about the registration and renewal of the trademark. Since 1976, Cuba Export, Pernod Ricard, has registered the trademark because despite the 1963 embargo on Cuban assets, there was a piece, an exception in the legislation, U.S. legislation, providing that Cuban entities were nevertheless entitled to register and renew the trademark. And the addition with the 1998 Act, also called the Bacardi Bill, which has been enacted by the U.S. Parliament, is that it now refuses the right for Pernod Ricard to renew the trademark Havana Club.
So basically, American legislation, it forbids the use of any trademarks that were confiscated in connection with a Cuban revolution or afterwards.
Yes, exactly. And now it also precludes Pernod Ricard from maintaining the registration of the trademark, which is quite surprising because usually there is what we call the non-retroactive effect of legislation, which is extremely enforced, obviously, when it comes to criminal sanctions, but also when it comes to torts, to civil contracts, agreements, and so on. And here, in the case at stake, strangely enough, and I guess because of the real pressure which has been exercised by Bacardi upon the legislator, this specific act provides for retroactivity, meaning that now Pernod Ricard is deprived of its trademark.
But just to be fair on Bacardi, and also to make its case to a certain extent, Bacardi is not doing anything that's not legal, basically.
No. I mean, the mere fact also that it has used large lobbying activities to obtain that. I mean, it's also fair, and it's common practice in the U.S. where you have more than $3 billion US dollars which are spent on lobbying activity. You have here it's called the Bacardi Bill, but you also have the Walt Disney Bill, which has been enacted also on the demand of Walt Disney Company just to extend copyrights over certain copyright works. So it's common practice once again. There is nothing illegal which has been done. It's just the fact that it was enacted is just a little bit strange because it affects some basic principles.
Another thing that I think people may find strange is the fact that Havana Club, made by Pernod Ricard, as well as its Cuban partner, it's not even sold in the United States because of a US trade embargo on Cuban-made products. How common is it that we're seeing these kind of trade battles or trademark battles for a product that can't even be sold in a specific market, namely the US in this case?
Well, here, basically what, Pernod Ricard wants to secure its rights over the trademark just, when the embargo is going to be lifted at some point.
So this is all about the future, so to speak?
Exactly, yes, definitely yes. And, but on the same... also on the same end, you've seen that Bacardi has been selling some Havana Club rum over the U.S. territory, at least in one state. I think it's in Florida. And that was also the occasion for another judicial battle, which was brought by Pernod Ricard.
Basically because Pernod Ricard is saying that Bacardi should not be able to use the Havana Club brand in the United States simply because it's not made in Havana. It's not actually made in Cuba. Exactly.
It's made, from my recollection, in Puerto Rico, and it's labeled Havana Club. It's mentioned on the label that it is made in Puerto Rico, but this is, to my mind, and as an IP specialist, not enough to prevent the consumer from being misleading.
But obviously a US court, or several US courts, actually disagree with you because in the latest ruling we heard from one US court that the packaging is, quote, factually accurate, unquote, as well as... quote, unambiguous, unquote, because it says, the court makes the case. It says, as you pointed out correctly before, it says Havana Club, made in Puerto Rico. The court is basically saying that consumers are not stupid at the end of the day. They can read what's on the label. Isn't that the case?
Well, actually, not really. I mean, there you have an opposition with the function of a trademark and the interest of the consumer also. Trademark is made so as to evidence for the consumer the origin of a product. When you see, in large characters, they mention Havana Club. When you see on the bottle, and I've seen a bottle of the Havana Club marketed by Bacardi, it's mentioned like 10 times on the bottles, or maybe 15 or something. A word which refers to Cuba and to Havana, where it's only mentioned once or twice that it's made in Puerto Rico. This is not enough for a consumer when you have 5 seconds when you go in a supermarket and you have to decide on which rum to buy. You don't have time to read everything.
But once again, if I play devil's advocate and if I tell you what Bacardi is saying that, look, this brand has roots in Cuba. The recipe was invented in Cuba. Yes, we left Cuba eventually, but the roots of this product are firmly planted in Cuban soil.
Yeah, well, this is not enough. Not enough, just because, as I said, the function of a trademark, which is to identify the origin of a product. You cannot have two similar, identical trademarks, Havana Club, one with a product originating from Bacardi and another one originating from Pernod Ricard. This is just to avoid the confusion of the consumer. And the only way is to enforce IP rights legitimately owned by Pernod Ricard.
We don't have a lot of time left, but do you think that this is a trademark war that will be resolved at some point, or will this just go on and on and on?
Well, yeah, it will be resolved at some point, because some final decisions are going to be made either by the U.S. Supreme Court and also, as you might be aware of, the World Trade Organization has sanctioned the United States for this 211 Act, and so at some point it has to abide by the decision. The US will have to abide by the decision, but some actions will have to be taken.
All right, thanks very much indeed. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. Manuela Ball, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us here at Beyond Business. You're watching France 24. Stay with us, more news coming your way soon.